Minutes past 8 Central African time. Thank you so much for starting your morning with us. We're going to be beginning today's show with a number that tells us a great deal about the state of South Africa's economy. 33.6%. That is the latest official unemployment rate, which is up from 32.7% in the first quarter of 2026. So it essentially means around 8.5 million people here in South Africa are unemployed, with hundreds of thousands more joining the ranks of those looking for work. And as always, behind those statistics are real households, people that are struggling to find their first job, people who have lost work, and families trying to survive on fewer incomes. The picture becomes even more concerning when you look at the broader unemployment measure. Which includes people who have stopped actively looking for work. So as people have given up, they're saying, well, there are no jobs. We're not going to look anymore. And that figure is also staggering, sitting at around 43.8%. These are people that are completely locked out of the economy of the country. So we'll be looking at those numbers and some of the key drivers of this deterioration in the labor market. We'll be looking at which sectors are losing jobs and what does this tell us about the prospects for employment going forward. And joining us now, when these numbers are always released, is Desiree Manamela, Chief Director responsible for labor statistics at Stats SA. Desiree, good morning. Welcome to News and Views. Always a pleasure having you on the show to unpack some of these very, very concerning figures that we always get from you guys.
Thank you very much, Steve.
I want to start with the headline figure, 33.6%. Can you just unpack it for us overall? What is driving the increase in unemployment in the second quarter of 2026?
Yeah. 33.6%. That's the unemployment rate for the second quarter of 2026. Now, this number that we have published, it basically translated from an increase of 345,000 in the number of unemployed persons to 8.5 million. So on the other hand, when we look at how we calculate unemployment rate, we also look at employed persons. So there was a drop of 16,000 in the number of employed persons to 16.7 million in the second quarter when we compare it with the first quarter. So the result of a decline in employment and increased unemployment resulted in the labor force, which increased by 329% and 329,000. Now, when we look at all these indicators, employment decreasing, unemployment increasing, the changes in employment and unemployment resulted in the official unemployment rate increasing by 0.9 of a percentage point to 33.6%. So we have more people that are in unemployment in the second quarter of 2026.
Sure, very, very concerning. You've mentioned, some of the figures of unemployed people rising by, I think, around 345,000. What are we seeing? Which sectors are we seeing the biggest losses in employment? Do we know why specifically those sectors are shedding so much jobs?
Yeah. We're seeing industries like the community and social services, which increased by 57,000 in the second quarter. We saw mining also increasing by 26,000 in the same quarter. We saw agriculture and manufacturing also decreasing by 15,000 each. And then utilities, which is water and your electricity and gas, also declining by 10,000. The private households sector declined by 9,000. And then when you look at because even though we saw these decreases, we also saw some increases in employment in the likes of trade, which increased by 70,000. We also saw construction there, increasing employment by 39,000 and finance by 11,000.
Mm, And the expanded unemployment rate is now sitting, I think, officially at 43.8%. For someone who isn't quite familiar with that measure, what does it tell us about that official 33.6%?
Yeah. And maybe I should also correct, we are no longer referring to expanded unemployment rate. As of the third quarter of 2025, that terminology has been changed. And the main reason of that change is that we have added an additional group of people that have that are available to are unavailable to work, but they're looking for employment. So this is a small group of people that said, I'm not available during the reference period, but I'm looking for employment. If it is available, I mean, if it is offered to me, I will take it. It is about 44,000 of those. So we are basically have based what we publish and what we report on the latest ICLS, which talks about the combined rate of unemployment and potential labor force, which basically includes all the people that are in unemployment, that 8.5 million, and then those that are available to work, but they had other reasons for not searching during the reference period, including our discouraged job seekers and those that have other reasons for not searching. So that the combined rate of unemployment and potential labor force, it is standing at 43.8% in the second quarter of 2026. That's basically an increase of about 0.1 of a percentage point from 43.7% in the first quarter, which basically translates into 13.1 million of people that are unemployed, and they are discouraged, and they have other reasons for not looking for employment, but they are available if a job is offered to them.
Very, very concerning. Such a big pool, such a big number of people that are given up and are essentially cut out of the economy. I want to come to, I think, the most concerning one, the stats around youth unemployment. How are those looking and how were they broken down?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the youth, we are seeing young people between the ages of 15 to 24 with an unemployment rate of about 62.8% in the second quarter. And those that are 25 to 34, their unemployment rate is standing at 41.8%. Now, when we look at the youth 15 to 34 years, they have recorded an unemployment rate of 47.4% in the second quarter. That's about 9.9 percentage point increase when we compare with quarter two of 20. When we look at over a decade, that's an increase of 9.9 percentage points. So that's basically where we are with the youth. And in terms of their labor force participation, we looking at those, specifically those that are 25 to 34. They've recorded a participation rate of 72.9%. So we basically have a lot of them either in unemployment and employment, which basically makes up the whole labor force of the youth that would like to work, they're available to work, they want to work, and they're also searching for employment. Now, in addition to youth unemployment, we also have another rate or indicator of the vulnerability of the youth, which we call NEET. Those are the people that are not in employment, education, or training. So we're looking at the youth 15 to 24, and we ask ourselves, where are these people? Where are these young people that are either supposed to be in school or in education or training, or maybe even starting to look for employment or even in employment? Now we see this rate has increased to 36.4% in the second quarter. That's about 3.8 million of youth 15 to 24 that are not in employment, not in education, or even in training, out of about 10.4 million of the youth between the ages of 15 to 24 that we have in the country.
Sure. I want to park it there so that we take a quick break. But then when we come back, we'll come back to the numbers and try to explain a bit further. And maybe just circle back also to some of the sectors of the economy that are actually creating jobs. I know you touched on it a bit, but I would want to look at that and see if there are any green shoots of positivity that we can look at. But we'll do all of that when we return from this.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Right now, over 150 million children around the world are orphaned, facing hunger, hardship, and uncertainty. With Islamic Relief's Orphan Sponsorship Program, you can provide a child with access to education, nutritious food, essential healthcare, and a safe home. Your sponsorship is not just support, it's hope, security, and a brighter future. Be the reason an orphan child smiles again. Sponsor an orphan today with Islamic Relief.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042 203 1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Are you banking with convenience, transparency, and flexibility? With Al Baraka Bank's transactional banking account, you can enjoy convenient everyday banking designed around your needs. Benefit from zero fees on point-of-sale transactions and manage your banking easily through Al Baraka's secure mobile banking app and internet banking platform. From everyday payments to managing your personal or business banking, Al Baraka makes banking simple, transparent, and convenient. Visit albaraka.co.za to learn more. Al Baraka, your partner bank. Al Baraka Bank Limited is an authorized financial services and credit provider.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, we're in conversation with Desiree Manamela, Chief Director responsible for labor statistics at Stats SA. And we're looking at that very, very concerning figure, 33.6% of South Africa's unemployment rate, which has climbed in the second quarter of 2026. That translates to around 8.5 million people, South Africans, that are officially unemployed. And Desiree, thank you so much for staying with us. Before we went on to that short break, I wanted to look at some positivity. Are there sectors of the economy that are actually creating jobs at the moment? And where are we seeing some of those opportunities? Are there green shoots of growth that we can point to, regardless of this very, very staggering number?
Yeah. I think the sectors that you have mentioned, if you look at the trend over since, let's say, 2008, when we started with the survey, there's been basically sort of a mixed trend in the different industries that are creating employment. So there hasn't been sort of a stable trend to say that manufacturing will create employment throughout this period, and then we also expect finance to create a lot of jobs in the next quarter. So there has basically been a mixed trend where we look at trade, and then you ask yourself, in trade, which sub-industries basically are creating employment, which sub-industries created employment in trade in the current quarter. Now, in the 2026 quarter two, the main contributors to 70,000 employment in trade were mainly in wholesale and retail trade. So you look at the other sub industries within trade, sales of motor vehicles and motorcycles, and hotels and restaurants, they recorded the loss in the second quarter. Yeah, so it's not something to say that in the next quarter, because trade now created employment, we should expect to see the same thing in the next quarter, or even it will also depend on what is happening in the economy. So we've seen this mixed trend between different industries that are creating employment one quarter to the other. And as they say, we basically just report the data as we receive them in that specific quarter. We are not able to tell our listeners or the country that in the next quarter this is how the results gonna look. We only are able to present as we see them, as we receive them from the field. So we've also like sort of recorded in terms of when you look at which in terms of formal sector and informal sector. The formal sector declined. We lost about 41,000 jobs in the formal sector. And the informal sector created employment of about 34,000. And then we also saw some decline in private households. I mean, private households where we have our domestic workers, our gardeners, our private security in private households, all those type of occupations that are found in private households. There was a decline of about 9,000.
Are there any stats, maybe provincially, maybe looking at the province of Gauteng that you can point out to that can give us a picture of the labor market here?
Yeah, when you look at the provinces, we saw about 3 provinces that lost employment. Western Cape, for one, lost about 48,000 jobs. And Gauteng lost about 22,000 jobs, and Northwest lost about 15,000 jobs. And the rest of the other provinces, they created employment, with Mpumalanga creating most of employment, about 41,000, and Eastern Cape 13,000. Now, when you look at like which industries within the different provinces that that contributed to the change, for example, Western Cape lost about 48,000 jobs. Now, which industries within Western Cape contributed to that loss? We are looking at agriculture for one. Agriculture in the Western Cape lost 22,000 jobs, construction about 26,000 jobs, transport 19,000 jobs. So those are the industries that contributed most to that loss of 48,000 jobs, while we saw some minimal increases in 1 or 2 industries. For example, private households and manufacturing and finance created some employment. And then when you look at the province that created most of employment in the country in the second quarter, which is Mpumalanga, which created 41,000. We find that industries like manufacturing and transport were the main contributors to that increase in employment. While when you look at a province like Gauteng, it lost 22,000 jobs. And community and social services, manufacturing, those are the industries that contributed to that, mainly to that loss. On the other hand, in Gauteng, we are able to see that trade created most of employment there, even though the net result in terms of employment in Gauteng was negative. We still saw some increases in some few industries like trade, agriculture, and construction.
Desiree Manamela, Chief Director responsible for Labor Stats and Statistics South Africa. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure having you on air to break down some of these concerning figures that are coming out from the labor market. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much, Stilelo. Have a good day.
There we go. Yeah, I think very, very concerning. 33.6%. That's the figure that we're getting. That's the number. But I think the broader picture is even more sobering, because behind all of those stats and numbers that Desiree broke down so well are people, are human beings. And we want to hear from you this morning. What does unemployment look like in your community? Are there jobs available, or are people simply struggling to get their foot in the door? And are you part and parcel of that 40+% of people that have given up on finding employment, saying, you know what, there isn't really anything out there, and I'm going to stop looking? You can engage with us. Send us a voice note. Line is 061-766-0355, or you can send us your thoughts via telephone, the old-fashioned way. Our number is 01168000355. As we try, man, and make sense of the unemployment crisis here in South Africa. There are a lot of political parties. I think COPE was one of them. They were calling for the government to announce a state of emergency because it is really unsustainable, especially when you look at the amount of young people that are unemployed or that are not in formal training or education. And you're like, what's going to be happening to them once they transition from being young to being fully fledged adults? You have a whole generation, millions and millions of people that are going to now officially want to enter the labor market, and they don't have any kind of education, any kind of work experience. And like these numbers are only the beginning. It looks like it might get worse after that reality starts kicking in. And yeah, man, I don't know if the government has hold on it. Do they have answers to these questions? South Africa should be one of the biggest emerging economies, especially on the African continent. And when you look at our peers globally, we're lagging behind. 33.6%. That's a big chunk of your population that is not contributing to the economy of the country. Maybe the question is, what are your thoughts? What do you think the government should do on top of maybe your own personal struggles with unemployment? What answers can we maybe propose to government if, well, it was a different world and they would care to listen? What do you think the country needs? 011-680-0355. Going to take a short break. I want you to stay with us because after the break, we'll be turning our attention from the question of earning an income to the cost of living. We'll be speaking to Lisa Makaula, Advocacy and Program Lead at the Green Connect, and they're going to be talking about the cost of living and how South Africans are seemingly doing a trade-off between electricity and food. So that's going to be another concerning conversation coming up after this.